A huge first turn crash left the championship contenders on the ground in turn 1. But that didn't stop Charlie Mullins from mounting an incredible come-from-behind charge, passing Paul Whibley to take the lead and go worst to first for the win. The hot rod is strong in 2014. Hello everyone and welcome to Racer TV's coverage of the Ramsoil Grand National Cross Country Series presented by Maxxis and AMA National Championship. And look at this. We're not cleaning the easy ups, we're not power washing the pits. Indeed, this is Mother Nature at her worst, absolutely drowning this Aonia Pass motocross facility, which is the host site of this Maxxis General GNCC in Washington, Georgia. You're seeing the morning race out there right now, and it is gnarly, and it is not going to be any better for our afternoon event. In fact, they've decided to shorten the race time up. Going to go a little over 2 hours today instead of the traditional 3-hour GNCC length. I don't think any of these top riders, even them, as skilled as they are going to complain about that. Jordan Ashburn not happy at all. Here's Kailub Russell, though what's funny is Russell has actually said he was hoping for it to rain today. The defending series champion had a bad run in Florida, finished 14th overall, and he knows today could be the day that other riders have problems and he gets some points back. He'll take his own chances in the mud. Apparently he likes these odds. There's our man Ricky Towery signaling the blue flag. Turn the engines off. We'll get the dead engine start fired up here at the Maxxis General GNCC. I'm Jason Wygant here to give you the race call. Do my best just to identify who is who because these machines are going to be covered once we go racing. Well, no surprise, it's going to be Paul Whibley, that Ampro Enfab Yamaha getting the start, but look at his teammate. No, that's not his teammate. That's the other Yamaha rider, Strang, Josh Strang, on the Rocky Mountain. Back to Enfab Ampro Yamaha, getting around Whibley. Now, Whibley is usually the whole shot master. That is more critical than ever in a mud race like this, because these riders are going to be getting covered with roost. So Strang, the aggressor, taking the lead early from Wibbs, and we'll see what the Australian, former GNCC Series champ, can do. Man, he is already getting away. I do see Ashburn in the number 7 Yamaha up there as well. So, as always, good starts for the YZ450Fs, and not so good for Russell, who I believe just came through about 3rd to last. Said he liked his chances in the mud, but he's going to make life even worse for himself. Here's your battle. Strang continues to lead in the field. Oh, this is unbelievable. This is unbelievable. It is seat deep, and this is before we even get to the woods where it's going to get probably even more nasty. Not a lot of elevation change on this course. That means the water can just sit here in these pools. I did see Charlie Mullins, your winner of the opener, get through around 4th. I think that's Chris Bach making moves. There he is on the Honda on the right side of the screen. And I'll put out a guess. That's Takeshi Koikita out of Japan with him. They're battling to get inside the top 5. Strang, Whibley, Ashburn. And the white machine is the Husqvarna of Andrew DeLong. We go back to the start for XC2, the 250 class. Huge field in this one. 15 XC1 riders, 33 XC2 riders. Shane Hufford here in the number 11, who is so strong at the opener in Florida, ended up on the podium. Grabs your digitaloffroad.com whole shot. He's got a little extra money there. Now, the season opener was won by Rory Mead on the DirtWise ShaneWatts.com backed KTM. And Mead going to try to make a run for it here, but it is the number 11 of Hufford leading the way. I'll tell you, it seems strange as you see riders paddling their way through and getting stuck 3 corners into a race. But a lot of them will tell you that if the rain stops, it'll actually make things worse. At least right now, you got that soupy mud. If it stops raining as we go back to Strang leading XC1, this mud will dry out, and then it will get so tacky, it will just stick to the machines and the goggles. It'll make the bikes a lot heavier. And traction-wise, it'll be slippery anyway. Look at Ashburn going to the inside there, making the move on his teammate Whibley for 2nd. And it looks like Mullins has gotten around DeLong, and he's got Russell right with him. So that's pretty close. Your top 6 now, it's Thad Duval on the Morgantown Power Sports machine, the Honda, followed by the Johnny Campbell Racing Honda of Bach. Although I think the water might be so deep here that we might be reaching a point where they just can't deal with it. You can obviously ride a dirt bike pretty darn deep through water. The airbox is usually up around the seat. With the Yamahas, it's up even higher around the steering head. But you can get to a point, I guess, where they're just too deep, too much water, and they would prefer for it to stop. Let's give you your Xcmo Replay, brought to you by Rocky Mountain ATV MC, and it is how Strang grabbed the whole shot. And look at the roost that he dished out to Whibley while he made that pass. And with that, he grabs your All Balls Racing whole shot award. A lot of times we'll run the slow-mo replay of a really gnarly section out on the track, but today the start's so critical that we decided to highlight that, because you look at the difference. Strang out front, starting to get away. Whibley and Ashburn have been fighting. It looks like it's Mullins, Russell in the hunt as well. But the bottom line is, Strang's totally clean, or relatively clean, I should say, compared to the rest of the guys. And how about Bach here, the number 3, that factory-backed Honda? I'll tell you, that Johnny Campbell racing team, what a rude awakening. Veterans of racing in Baja, and now back-to-back mudders here in the woods in the east. That's Stuart Baylor making a move on his KTM around Jason Thomas, who momentarily got stuck. Those guys used to battle in XC2, now they're XC1 riders. Nick Davis on the Suzuki coming through next. On the downhill we go. I think this is Thad Duvall, who's dropped back a little bit. Now, Duvall, normally a killer in the mud races. He must have made a mistake early. Now, in hot pursuit of him is your XC2 leader, Rory Mead, who has Shane Hufford, who you remember grabbing the whole shot in that division, right behind him here. And it's Takeshi Koikita on the Honda coming through. And now, Grant Baylor, defending XC2 champ. He's got some work to do here in the mud.
Twins have notoriously been very hard on crankshafts because that big long stroke of those 2 cylinders just flexes the crankshaft around. So we were seeing bearing issues. Research development people at Ramsoil could show us that it was likely an oil problem. And they were correct. That was the issue. Instead of having to redesign the engine, I just had to do a better quality oil.
Racer TV is brought to you by Ramsoil, by Rocky Mountain ATV MC, and by NN. Still grinding their way through the muck, it looks like Paul Whibley has now taken the lead in this Maxxis General GNCC Round 2. Oh, there's Charlie Mullins in second, stuck. Just gets going in front of Josh Strang. You've got Ashburn and Russell still right there. So your top 5, they were close when we went to break. They remained that way. But Whibley, runner-up at our opener a week ago, would love to win this one and get the series points lead. And you got some Yamaha people on the side telling all the riders to stay inside. Yes, and you do not hear them cheering or pointing out anything for the KTM group. Here comes Whibley. Whibley was in for a good fight with Mullins. They went back and forth in the lane a few times in Florida. Mullins, of course, had come from down in turn 1 to catch him, but once he got there, Whibley was staying close until he bent his rear brake pedal in a rut, and that made it impossible, really, for him to battle Mullins down the stretch. So a little bit of revenge on the line here, but how about Strang, who is closed back in? You don't often see riders quite this close in mud races. It looks like Strang wants to actually battle Whibley. Often when the conditions are this bad, you're just out there trying to survive. You see what happens. Strang stalls the motorcycle. And that's what I'm talking about in these mud bogs. You're really more worried about yourself and just getting through without having problems like Strang's having right now than you are making passes. Here is Mullins in the pits. Russell right in front of him. They're going to get out together. Oh, I thought Russell had the pass made, but Mullins able to get back around him. And I guess Whibley did not pit at all. A lot of times they'll go with a pit every lap strategy in these mudders. Often at a GNCC, you really only need to pit once for a full gas stop and maybe a second time for a little splash of gas. But here you're going to stop often for goggles and gloves all the way around. Not the case for Whibley, but look at Strang. Back in front of these boys and into the number 2 spot. So he is not giving up. And Bach staying close now. Got the Rockstar Energy JCR Honda right back in the mix. And the other reason you don't really have to plan the passes and really attack guys the same way in these mud races is because they'll make mistakes for you and allow you to get back into it. I'm sure that's what Duval back here is hoping for. Like we said, normally a mud master, he's riding the 254 stroke, which in these mudders sometimes is, I would say, less of a disadvantage than it is on other days where power is at a premium. Here, the nimbleness in the ruts and being able to pull the bike in and out of the mud. Hey, if any of you folks watched our ATV show here from Georgia the other day, this was a nice little double jump. As you see Roy Mead getting over right now, it's really just two mounds with a little bit of air nowadays. And I believe the rain is coming back down. And look at how deep the water is in some of these flat sections. Watch Grant Baylor coming through on the number 1 in the XC2 division, battling with Mead. This is another area that was, well, A, completely dry, and second, this mulch pile actually formed up to be a whoop section. We'll see what it looks like now that it's raining today. Totally different on ATV day. A little bit whooped out. As you see, Mullins and Russell are still battling amongst some lap riders for second and third. Woo, be careful through there. That is slick. Looks like Strang has lost a little bit of ground. And that's what I'm talking about. Again, it's just going to be up and down all day today. You don't have to make the passes on the riders. Everyone is going to have their share of getting stuck, stalling the machine, and they just hope that they don't combine it all together. You don't want to crash into one of these deep water holes. That could be the end of your day. And I believe that's Mead still there leading the XC2 division, and there's Baylor right behind him. And like we were talking about with Duval, now he's on a 254 stroke. With the 252 strokes in the XC2 division, when it gets really nasty like this, the old school two-stroke, a lot of riders still like it. Especially if it stops raining and the course gets sticky, and then it's more of a slot car race through the ruts. Two-strokes are a little bit easier to handle in those conditions. And Rory Mead, by the way, he is a master tactician in the really rocky, gnarly, difficult events. He is good. We'll see if that can translate over here to the mud. Maybe the XC2 riders can make a run for the overall, but right now it sure looks like, no, it doesn't look like that. I thought the XC1 riders had a nice solid lead, but it looks like Grant Baylor has just passed his brother Stewart, who started on row 1 of XC1, and they have caught Strang. Now the XC2 division starts 1 minute behind XC1. So they have 1 minute of time adjustment. Was that Russell that just came by in the lead with Mullins behind him? It's going to be difficult. We have two classes mixing it up now. And of course, all the numbers are covered. That's Ashburn. You can tell the long, lanky frame of him. That is Mead. Mead's got the yellow handguards, and Whibley has dropped back. So yes, Kailub Russell into the lead. That's story number 1. But Mead and Stuart Baylor from row 2 making a run.
Sometimes you come across something so different, you just have to stop and check it out. The Rocky Mountain ATV MC website has everything you need, from our huge selection of tires, ATV and UTV accessories, and OEM parts, to our online chat, customer reviews, and instructional videos. Our extensive inventory means most orders arrive in 3 days or less. Get low prices, quick shipping, and incredible customer service. RockyMountainATVMC.com. Get ready.
Racer TV is brought to you by Ramsoil, by Rocky Mountain ATV MC, and by Can-Am. Now Charlie Mullins is your leader at this Maxxis General GNCC, one of the wettest and wildest races we've seen in a while. Our opener, the Mud Mucker in Florida, we thought was aptly named, but the conditions weren't nearly this bad. Pretty sure I saw Russell there in second. Ashburn revving his engine, I think, is coming through. No, that is Whibley. I believe I saw Russell second, Ashburn third, then our XC2 riders Mead and Baylor, then Whibley, now Strang. We got to figure it out. And Strang, who was so good early grabbing that hole shot, has now made a couple of mistakes, having to work his way forward. Has opened the door for the KTM riders. I call it muscle. That's Mullins and Russell combined. They dominated last year. They're looking to do the same in the mud today. And there is Whibley on the 5, trying to work his way back forward. Ahead of Russell now. So now Russell has made the mistake, and that allows Whibley to move forward, and the mud and the rain strikes again. And then Strang coming through, so he's not out of this one. But all these mistakes have opened the door for this man, Grant Baylor. 16 years old, starting in the XC2 class, row number 2, on a 252 stroke, has taken over the physical overall lead. And I don't know if I've ever seen that. We've seen XC2 riders flirt with the overall win on adjusted time, but to lead the race physically, that is unbelievable. Strang coming through right there within sight of the lead XC1 riders, but Grant Baylor is starting to get away. There is Ashburn, I believe, and the long hair to the back of the helmet, that is Russell, then Mullins on the other KTM. So Ashburn could be one to watch here. How about the upset special? Grant Baylor, Jordan Ashburn, two young kids leading the way. You see the attack there by Russell and Mullins trying to get them back. And then this is Whibley, the never-give-up spirit of the New Zealander, trying to take advantage if the kids make a mistake. Then it's Meade, second in the XC2 class. Oh, little mistake. Again, it's so icy down there, and that's what the guys will be dealing with. Like I said, even if it stops raining, it's going to be that slippery anyway. But so far, so good for the kid from South Carolina. He has taken off. Ashburn running solid in second, but not even close as far as putting pressure on. Then it's Russell. Now Russell's hope is that this mud race will be the great equalizer. He can get some points back, and he might have that scenario. You're throwing guys like Ashburn, Baylor, and Meade in there from the other class. We've got contenders, maybe different riders that you'd expect to be battling for the overall win today, and that's what Russell wants. But he's got to win this thing, take advantage of it. And right now, he, like the rest of the XC1 field, well, they are hard-pressed to catch Grant Baylor. There's Strang, there's Mullins, they're digging deep. It's not going to be easy.
What do you call a machine that combines precision-engineered handling, industry-leading power, and a rider-focused design? We call it a Can-Am. From the essentials to fully loaded, you'll find that same combination in every ATV and side-by-side we build. And right now, get your own for as low as $149 a month. Can-Am, the ride says it all.
Racer TV is brought to you by Ramsoil, by Rocky Mountain ATV MC, and by Can-Am. Hey kids, don't let the dust from those clips fool you. It is a full-on mudder today. Looks like Kailub Russell has regained the physical overall lead here at the Washington, Georgia's Maxis General GNCC. Here is your leader in the XC2 division, Grant Baylor, who was physically out front before. Now, the question is, Russell will need to beat Baylor by over a minute to claim the overall win on adjusted time. Still Jordan Ashburn and Charlie Mullins battling. A good run for Ashburn all day long here in the slop. And that's his teammate Paul Whibley. You can always recognize that big boxy chest protector underneath. And here comes Strang. You can usually tell him by the red helmet, although at this point it's getting harder and harder to figure out. So Kailub Russell now in control of the lead. He started off terribly today, about the second or third to last off the line, although starts really have not been KR's specialty throughout his GNCC career, including winning the title last year. He generally lets you go early and lets his speed do the talking late. Now things have picked up. I'm seeing the Yamaha riders, Whibley and Ashburn, as well as Mullins on the KTM coming through ahead of Baylor. There is Baylor. So now he's losing a little bit of ground, and that bid for the overall, and that will be the first time ever that a rider from the XC2 class has taken an overall victory. It might be slipping through his very muddy, gloved fingertips right now. And because Baylor and Russell ride for the same team, I'm sure Russell is aware of that. They know where Baylor is, they know where Russell is, and the overall championship, that #1 plate Russell is running, that is based on overall finishes, not class finishes. So if Baylor gets in there between any of these guys, that will affect the year-end point standings. You're not just racing in your class. In the XC1 class, you're fighting for the overall title. You got to beat the riders on every row. Here's Strang coming through. Man, this is just as gnarly as it gets, and we have seen some of the worst in GNCC racing through the years. Maybe the only good thing about racing here in Georgia, the elevation change is not as extreme as it will be at most of the races this year. So we did not have to combine this mud with steep ups and downhills. That'll be the case, though, if this keeps up all year long. Looks like Russell now headed for some daylight and perhaps a pressure wash. He has got the physical overall lead, and he's going to take the checkered flag first. Look at how deep those ruts are. But the question will be, yeah, he's looking around. He is wondering, as he has to wrestle just to get the bike off of the track. Now we play the waiting game. Full credit to Jordan Ashburn, the kid out of Cookeville, Tennessee, 3rd year in the XC1 class. It's a career day. Here he is. He's going to finish 2nd in the XC1 class. We'll see where he finishes in the overall. That's Baylor. There he is. This is going to be close. He managed to get back in front of Whibley, Mullins, and the rest. And it is just chaos down there at the finish line. Hope the transponders are still working in the mud. Here comes, I can't even tell at this point. I can tell you it's a Yamaha. So that would have to be Strang. And everyone else, other classes, other pros struggling across the line in what was a race of survival, and it was supposed to be a 3-hour race. Traditionally, they shortened the race distance. Russell came in at 2:15, and here it is, the tail of the tape. 4 seconds! Baylor finishes in the #2 position. That was the gap. Look at the Ramsoil results. Ashburn in the overall podium, Whibley, Strang, Mullins 6. Not happy about that, I'm sure. And you look at the overall point standings. Mullins will still be the points leader, but they gave a whole bunch back to Russell today. Strang, Whibley also in contention. How about the Baylor brothers tied right now for 6th place? Well, here's a Ramsoil race recap. Just trust me, these are the names because you're not going to see the numbers. Early on, bad start for Kailub Russell. It was all sorts of mixed up throughout the day. Grant Baylor from the XC2 class, row 2 on this green background number plate, #1, would take over the overall lead. Not just on adjusted time. He passed all the pro riders from row 1, but then Russell got going. He knew he needed to score maximum points today to make up for a rough go of it at the opener in Florida. He came from behind. He made the moves late. The last 2 laps were good for him. There is Grant Baylor, still a solid run to finish 2nd overall and win the class. Russell celebrates on the podium. We'll see you next week.